For us to have God-fearing homes, the men, the husbands, must rise up to their place in Christ. And when you are a son, but you don't know that you are a son, and all you know that you are is a servant, you don't behave like a son. You only behave like a servant. So if you are a husband and you have authority in Christ, and you don't know that you have authority in Christ, your wife will misbehave and go astray, be deceived by the serpent, and then she will come and tell you that I want a divorce, and you will think she has the power to go and do a divorce. And you're not careful, you will give her your permission. Do you get it? When you say, okay, you have signed a document with your words. Are you following? This is not theory, so if you want to know about authority, and this is knowledge for spiritual warfare. What you allow, Jesus said, whatsoever you allow will be. He spoke to the apostles and told them about this. He was explaining spiritual authority. He said this in Matthew chapter 16. Matthew chapter 16 verse 19 says, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Do you see that? That's authority in Christ. Apostles are simply leaders, first in rank when it comes to the church. Husbands are also first in rank when it comes to the family. So what is true for the apostle is true for the husband. Do you get it? Okay, so that same authority you see Jesus describing to the apostle, he said, whatever you loose on earth, it's loosed in heaven. Whatever you loose, you bind on earth is bound. It's the same thing. If a husband says you see, sometimes men do things recklessly and don't know they are doing it. Because the man is also frustrated in his heart. And he also says, me myself, I'm tired of you. Then you begin to give permission to certain things. Huh? Are you getting it? Okay. That authority is in Christ. Don't forget that statement. That authority is in Christ. Meaning, I have to show you the same authority that I am talking about. I have to show it to you working in Christ for you to believe me. That the power of divorce is with the man, not the woman. Listen, forget what you have seen happening. You see them and then in the courts in the US, and then they take the man to the... Listen, just because you took me to court doesn't mean you have authority over me. Just because you summon me before in penny for doesn't mean you have authority over me. What is authority? The ability to have influence over somebody. Are you getting me? Recently, we were driving and we did a U-turn somewhere. We didn't know we were not supposed to do a U-turn. And the police stopped us. And the police said we had just so... I said, we didn't see any U-turn sign there. He said, we can go there and for you to see it. And I said, you're a police officer. I will not question that what you say is true. So, we don't need to go and see it. I know something about authority. So this is how I was going. I said, we don't need to go back. He said, so we are going to go to the station. I said, oh, my instinct told me that we shouldn't come this way. I was not feeling nice about it and all. So she sat in the car and then we are going to the station. As we were going to the station, I started to pick up small chat with her. I said, I perceive like about her that she's a different, like, I like the way she talks and she seems to have a good interhuman relationship. And I picked up something spiritually about it, but I didn't say it. She said it with her own lips. Now, thank you. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I said, it's not easy being like this, right? They are telling you to do things you don't want to do. She said, yes. That's what I picked up spiritually. That she's trying to keep herself uncorrupted or incorrupted or whichever one. But she's in a place where they are trying to influence her. So as we're going, he said, so when we go, you tell them what you were telling me. So then I said, that's for me. I don't know how to talk. Oh. Me, God is the one who will talk. I don't have anybody. Oh. Because what we're talking about was how some of these people who are arrested can just pick up the phone and call some boss somewhere and Charlie. You know what I mean? And before you know it, they are released. And she was saying, they like that too. They even like that cry. If you want to do that, you can do that. And I said, I don't have anybody. Who I have is God. She said, so when you go, you speak. I said, I won't speak. God is the one who will speak for me. Then she said, that's what she also says, to people, that she doesn't have anybody. But God is the one she has. When we went to the station, so we're talking about authority. Who has authority over who? Now, Christ's authority does not happen or work in disobedience. I'll give you scriptures. Romans 13 is clearly explaining the fact that rulers in authority and the one that bears the sword, which is basically any government worker that works in law enforcement, bears the sword. It is for correction and punishment. That's the sword. And discipline and warning. Okay? And defense or attack. He says anyone that bears the sword doesn't bear the sword in vain. And he says you should give honor and respect to them because they have no authority apart from that which God has given to them to do that work that they do for the sake of evildoers. He said they don't bear the sword for no reason. No. They are a threat to evildoers, not to those who do good. This is Romans chapter 13. Did you hear that? So it means when I see a policeman, whether he's corrupt, whether he's not corrupt, he's using an authority that God has given. Now, let me share something you may not know. Almost every nation on this earth, when you look in their law, when it comes to the law enforcement, has been shaped after the law of Moses. That is the level of influence Moses has had on this earth. And who gave Moses that authority? I'm not talking about just the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments is God's law. I'm talking about Moses' own law, which he had to enact in order to govern the Israelites. You take a man's coat, you have to give 2 back, you have to do this, you have to do that. That's the kind of law we have set in the country. Are you getting it? Good. When we got to the station, I said, what's the charge? I just asked straight. I said, what is my charge? He says, this is your offense. You did a U-turn where you were not supposed to do a U-turn. The penalty is this amount. No, he didn't. Before he said the penalty is this amount, he said, this is your charge. What do you say? I lifted up my hands and I said, I plead guilty. Just me doing that caused Christ's authority to begin to work for me. From that point on, everything that happened was God's favor. God talking for me. All I said was, I plead guilty. The officer said, wow. He said, wow. He was wowed. Because that's not what they experience. People come and want to defend themselves and explain to you and challenge you and all that. He said he bears the sword for a reason, for evildoers. An evildoer is not an evildoer when he confesses. So if I commit an offense and I say, yes, I did, I'm not an evildoer. I'm justified in the sight of God because I have confessed. You may punish me, but I'm not an evildoer anymore. I've confessed. And the police officer is the one who now throws the question to me, how much I want to give for my offense. This is official. This one is not the type where no, this is an official penalty. There's a penalty point where you're supposed to pay, and you go somewhere else and you pay, and blah, 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 blah. Then he throws it to you. But because of the way you have spoken, anything you want to give. And that is what I was telling his subordinate or whatever, associate in the vehicle when she was taking us that. But you have authority to decide to let me go. You can just pull my ear and tell me, don't do this again. And you have experience when dealing with people to know this one is stubborn or this one is not stubborn. So you know I'm not stubborn. And she said, what you are telling me when we go, tell the person. And that is what I did. I respected what she said. Authority. She has authority. So when she said it, that's exactly what I did. I said, plead guilty. So he threw it back to me. What I wanted to do in my heart is what ended up happening. Are you getting me? So if you live by the law will judge you. But if you live by faith, you are justified. Now, if you understand this, and then I come back to the husbands, and I say to you, is the woman the head of the man, or the man is the head of the woman? Spiritually, according to God's ordinance, who is the head? The man. Is the church the head of Christ, or Christ the head of the church? Okay. Is it the church that saved Christ, or Christ saves the church? By which authority did Christ save the church? By God's authority. How did he do that? How did he use the same authority to save the church? He humbled himself, even unto death. The authority of a husband in Christ, when I say the power of divorce is in his hands, is such that if he models himself after Christ, then he knows divorce is not in his dictionary. He also knows, as Christ knows about us, that we are an unfaithful people. Yet his faithfulness does not depend on our faithfulness. We are trying to understand why God has given Christ so much power and authority, that he, Christ, will say, all authority has been given unto me in heaven and earth. Therefore I say to you, go. That's how you are supposed to marry as a husband. That God is giving you your partner and tells you, go and marry her. Which means it is God's authority that is getting you to get married. That is why it says, what God had joined together, let no man put asunder. It is God's authority that says that. Therefore, if I am there and somebody is trying to instigate and do something around my wife to create confusion in my marriage and all that, I have an authority in Christ when I lift up my hands and pray to say, it is written, what God had joined together, no man can put asunder. He said, let no man. It is a command, meaning there is a consequence. Let no man. Then I can petition and say, but Lord, though you have said this, there are some men who say you are a liar. Let your justice prevail. I'm done praying. I won't pray again. I won't pray again. Now I open my heart and listen to him. What he will tell me. Remember what I said about the prayer of faith yesterday? Because I believe the word is stronger than my prayer. How much can you pray? We are talking about God's authority, not your prayer. God's authority is founded on him, not on you. Are you the one who lifts him up? Lift him up higher. Lift him up higher. The Lord is good. I will lift him up higher. Anywhere I go, sir, you will lift him up higher. He is the most high. You can't lift him up higher. And you will higher to sir. I say until you hear to say. Everywhere I go, I will lift him up higher. God's authority said, marry the woman. God's authority said, this is my son in whom I am well pleased. Hear him. So, Jesus is standing before Pilate. And Pilate is going to show him crafty powers. Don't you know I have authority over you? What does Jesus tell him? Jesus has been silent all through. He doesn't say anything. But you want to come and touch authority. You want to come and touch authority. He's going to give you a class. Quick class. He said, you have no authority over me except that which God has given to you. No authority. A wife can behave like Pilate to her husband. I'll leave you. I'm taking the children and all. Can the husband respond? You better believe it. He has authority in Christ. You have no authority to leave me or take the children. But when he says it, he better make sure he is walking in righteousness and in uprightness. Otherwise, it is empty words. That is the balance. And that uprightness and righteousness doesn't mean he is perfect. That uprightness and righteousness must be found in Christ. So if at the time when the woman said she's leaving him, he is wrong. After he has declared that she has no authority to do so, he must make sure he quickly goes back. Father, I'm sorry. I misbehaved. He has to reconcile with Christ quickly for that authority to work. You get it? Now you believe me when I tell you the authority is with the man. not the woman. Good. First, you thought it was like an authority where he will lord himself on you and all that. No. In Christ. It's not the authority of the husband, full stop. No. The authority of the husband in Christ. It is Christ who will give you that authority. An authority, unlike power, which is built up, like charged, authority works by protocol. So it never works if I don't know how to put it. It's like it works by protocol. So if you break the protocol, it can't work.